So my frying pan was hot. I grabbed one of these beautiful eggs my friend just gifted me yesterday, and I cracked the egg, and lo and behold, there were two yolks. One of the yolk stayed pristine and perfect, just like I like it. The other one broke, but it wasn't a big deal because that perfection was already there. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, wow, what a great picture of Gemini. So happy new moon in Gemini. A lot of astrologers right now are lifting up this new moon as the perfect time to start a project that is really something that you're serious about and are willing to work on for a long time. This is kind of giving a little nod back to Saturday, where Saturn entered Aries for the first time in 29 years ish, about, and where it will be, and where we have, new energy harnessed. There's so many other aspects that support how fruitful and fertile this new moon is for starting something. So absolutely go for it, darling. Even if you're a little bit scared, probably means it's something interesting. Even if you're a little daunted at the bigness of the task, I encourage you to start. But today I wanted to explore more about the archetype of Gemini. So I said this perfect egg, this one whole that had two versions of a yolk, one that was pristine, one that broke, and yet it was one egg. Gemini, it's the twins. And I used to think like, oh, the twins, it's just double the trouble, double the pleasure. And in my head, I realized that I really thought of it as the identical twins, that it was just two of the same thing. But this twins archetype is actually really rich through so many traditions, so many stories and mythologies. And the twin archetype actually is this opposite pair. where the sun and the moon are brothers, or there's one brother who was really smooth and soft, another one was really hairy, and there's so many variations of this story, but where they all have a common meeting place is that it's this idea of opposites or differences coming from the same source and ultimately working within the same cosmology or set of circumstances. So during this new moon in Gemini, we have to notice where we are divided and understand or work on what is the right way to bring that division into relationship again. So that can be very different at different times. I mean, let's go back to the egg analogy. Here I was making a fabulous breakfast. I don't even want to tell you what it is. Maybe later. But I wanted the yolk intact. and so that's why for me, that one yolk that was pristine was like, yeah, cool. Another one that was broken was like, no, that's not really what I wanted. But if I was, baking a cake, of course you want the yolks to broke. It would be so awkward if you, had like a whole round golden egg yolk in the middle of your cake. You know, kind of silly analogy, but that's actually quite true of this division between Gemini. It's not one is purely good and one is purely evil most of the time, even though we do have the Jekyll and Hyde, twin kind of story. But often it's really about timing. It's about what is appropriate now. Mercury moves so quickly and is the planet that visits all the other planets, not quite as frequently as the moon, but comes into these different relationships very often. It's the messenger of the gods. It must be able to speak the language of Uranus. It must be able to speak the language of the sun, the language of the moon, the language of Venus, and know when to choose what language so that the messages can be exchanged. So the same for us. We have to figure out where are the divisions, what is our purpose that is above that division, like the evolution that we're after. who we trying to become. And then we can choose more wisely how we want to bring these two opposite parts of ourselves into relationship. So, as we're poised perhaps to start an important project or initiate something new, we can go through the exercises of pros and cons. We can go through the exercise of saying, is this serving more like the left brain part of me or the right brain part of me? And can I bridge the two and have both honored in the project? Or, you have your own variation of this. But this inquiry isn't the most natural state for Gemini because it's a little bit slower perhaps than we always want it to be. But posing the question is very Gemini. Ask the question. And then do the practice where you let the question actually even remain unanswered for a little bit. Maybe a day or two, or maybe even to the full moon, and it'll be revealed to you what the answer is. But notice these dualities that you embody and carry, and see what part you play in bringing them into a healthy relationship. When we can practice that inside of us, maybe we stand a better chance at practicing bringing polarities in the outside world into more loving, caring, and peaceful relationships than we have in the past. Happy new moon in Gemini, and so much love. Ciao. And just a PS side note, my breakfast was a fried egg on pizza. I don't know, somewhat holy, kind of amazing. Definitely a brunch item.